Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Study Survival Podcast, where we're going to be sharing all the best tips, tricks, and study hacks that stick. I'm so glad we've got past the tongue-twisted version of that now. But how are you doing, Will? How's your week?
I'm doing very well. It's been a great weekend. We have an ultimate quiz lined up for you, Blair. We're going to test you. If you get any of these wrong, you're fired. So it's pretty high stakes.
Maybe I'll put my hands in the air and I'll walk out the office.
That's great. So it's a quiz on the best revision practices. So many students revise in a terrible, terrible way.
Yeah.
And then they fail and it's not good. But don't worry. We're going to let you know what's the bad ways to revise, so you can stop doing those, and the amazing ways to revise, which keeps that knowledge in your brain.
Absolutely.
So that you can apply it really well in your exams.
Perfect.
Marvelous. Wow. How are you doing, Blair? Are you nervous?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Excited?
I'm excited. I'm a little bit nervous.
You should be nervous.
Oh
This
no.
is high stakes.
Oh dear. Yeah, no, I'm really excited to see if my knowledge is as good as I think it is. And if I actually know what I'm talking about.
Wow.
At the end of this episode, you'll either be full of confidence in the tips and tricks I give you, or you'll turn around and think, God, she knows nothing. Who is this woman and why is she qualified to be on this podcast talking about revision? So no pressure.
Great. No pressure at all. Okay, cool. Question one.
Oh dear.
Okay. Rewriting notes word for word is the most effective revision method. True or false?
False.
Excellent.
Yay.
That's right. Good job.
Thank you.
Why is it bad?
Okay, so when we're revising, we should never be writing word for word. Because it's not going to get the information in your head in a way that it will be in your long-term memory. So what we want to do ideally is manipulate the information using a range of different revision techniques. So using active revision styles, whether you're testing yourself with flashcards or doing past paper questions, or even just writing like summary notes kind of in a blurting method technique, which is when, if you don't know, you just write everything you can remember on a certain topic. If you write it word for word, it's not going to go in the same kind of way.
That's really great. That's basically what the answer says.
Perfect. I feel relieved now I've got one right.
Okay, great. Well, we're only one question in.
True.
Anything could happen.
Oh, dear.
Okay, question two.
Go on.
Is our sound guy ready? Testing yourself regularly improves your ability to remember topics in an exam. True or false?
I would say true.
Great job. Well done. Okay, awesome. Is it like, okay, this says self-testing strengthens retrieval pathways.
It does. It does. The more you retrieve a piece of information, the stronger that connection in your brain is going to get between the information and where it needs to go to for you to be able to reproduce the information on a test or in a past paper question.
Yeah, knowledge isn't enough, is it? You can know the thing, but then you don't know how to get it down into the
Exactly.
answer.
Even because questions are asked in a different way for each different question on different papers. So by answering the different styles of question, we're going to manipulate the information and be able to attack it from different areas and different angles, which will allow us to apply the information if you're doing biology, for example, and you get an application question rather than just like a basic definition or retrieval question.
Okay, awesome. Well done.
Thank you.
Question 3. Watching a revision video counts as active revision.
Ooh. See, that's kind of a... Does it count? I would say false.
Well done.
Yes! Yes! I was like, this is going to be really bad. Perfect. And I would say it's false because watching a video is just, in a way, the same as reading the piece of paper. You're not actually actively testing yourself and testing your recall to see if you can remember something.
So if you pause, take notes, and then test yourself afterwards,
Fine.
big plus. I think that's great.
I think that's perfect.
Videos are fantastic.
Yeah.
As long as you're pausing, maybe trying. Yeah, if it's like a maths question, tutorial how to do this question, pause it, have a go.
Yeah.
See if you get the answer right, see if you get it wrong, see at which point you get stuck.
Yeah.
And then go for it.
And also, when you do those kind of checking of your answers, make sure you actually pay attention to the bits you missed and work through those. Maybe you need to do a little bit more revision on those areas so that you're not just getting your feedback and thinking, okay, I got 4 out of 5 or whatever. Make sure you're identifying where you're losing those marks.
That's really good. And speaking of which, true or false? Flashcards are a proven way to improve long-term memory?
Is it proven? True.
Good
Yay.
job. Nice.
Look at me go.
Flashcards are great.
I love a flashcard. Flashcards are one of my favorite ways to revise. I think they're brilliant. Being able to, when I revise with flashcards, I'll have the whole deck in my hands. And as I go through them, I'll put them in a pile of I know these ones and a pile of I don't know these ones. And then I just continuously work through the pile of I don't know these ones until there's none left and they're all in my knowledge pile.
That's really great. I used to, when I was revising for GCSEs, I just cut up A4 sheets of paper into flashcards and then I keep them in the textbooks on those pages where there's information.
That's clever.
Right. So then if I don't, I can look at it a bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd like make notes and then I'd test myself and then I'd do past papers. That was my
Brilliant.
provision.
That makes so much sense. Fantastic.
Okay, awesome. This says flashcards are especially proven to improve long-term memory when used with spaced repetition. So what's spaced repetition?
So spaced repetition is going over the same thing with a gap in between, so to speak. It's literally repetition that is spaced. So for example, if you go through your flashcards one day and then you go through them the next day, you'll be able, hopefully, to build on the knowledge that you have from the first day of looking through them. And you'll be able to kind of confirm it, push it a little bit more into your long-term memory because you're going over it again. It's just going to cement the revision and the learnings that you've taken from the day before.
That's really good advice. Okay, next question, true or false? Highlighting is just as effective as practicing exam questions.
No, false. Yay!
You're
For a second, my heart was going. I was like,
You're 100% right so far. Do you think you're going to get 100%?
I hope I'm going to get 100%.
Great. So yeah, highlighting isn't as good as practice questions because it's a lot more passive, isn't
That's
it?
one of my pet peeves. It's when people say they're revising.
It's highlighting.
I'm going to be sick just thinking about it. It's when people say they're revising and they read a piece of paper of notes and highlight not even just the important words, like 50% of the page.
Yeah, just go
What are you doing? What are you doing? Stop.
just highlighting the whole textbook.
just-
I now know everything in the textbook.
I know
It's
everything.
highlighted.
Here's my proof. No, that does not work. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. What you can do is you can read through, highlight, the key information only, and then you can put it on flashcards or something like that. But don't just read and highlight and think it's revision because it's not.
Okay, awesome. This next one's a bit controversial.
Ooh.
True or false? You should always study in total silence.
See, I would say that's quite a subjective question.
Should everyone always study in total silence?
False.
Well done. Good job.
Yeah, because different people have different preferences when it comes to revision. And also, if people are neurodivergent, like I have ADHD. So for me, in case you couldn't tell, so for me, if I'm trying to revise and it's dead silent, my brain's like, I'm bored now. What else can we do? I'm suddenly looking out the squirrel, climbing a tree across the road in the garden. I'm listening to the bin men coming down the road. My brain looks for another kind of stimulus to be not distracted by, but to be engaged by.
Yes.
So if I have some gentle lo-fi beats or something in the background, it tickles that bit of my brain that otherwise is searching for something else. But you've said before, you don't like having really music on in the background.
Yeah, great. So with ADHD, you tend to be understimulated and crave stimulus. With autism, which I've got, you tend to be overstimulated and crave like a lack of stimulus. So silence is great for me studying because I can finally focus and not just get overwhelmed by everything.
Yeah.
But with ADHD, it's like an itch that you need to scratch it.
It's
like
ridiculous.
you've got no stimulus. Like I know what it's like to feel understimulated, bored, I guess. So
Yeah.
I can definitely.
But even when I'm revising with music, it kind of keeps me sometimes, if I can get into a hyper focus, it keeps me working for longer as well, because I listen to music without lyrics, which you should also do. Yeah. No rap god. I've said it like 4 times on this podcast. No rap god, kind of Kendrick Lamar, not that kind of music. We're talking lo-fi. Maybe you like a little bit of saxophone. There's a playlist on Spotify called Unnecessary Sax. And it goes on top of like Coldplay songs, whatever, with this guy who's just like,
it's good.
Maybe something like that will scratch your brain. But steer clear of music with lots of lyrics in, because if you're trying to read information, if you think you've got 2 sources of like auditory words coming into your brain at once, it's not going to be as effective.
You know what? If we get 10 likes on this YouTube video, I know you might be listening on other things. Find us on YouTube and like the video. Blair will do the whole of Rap God.
Some of them
And she'll do it better than that. She's going to go away and learn it.
That
and
was
then
perfect.
just
I don't know what
your
you're talking
podcast.
about.
10 likes. It's easy.
Not to perform Rap God. I'll be like,
It's easy to get you to do it.
yeah, it's the production at the end.
Best of luck.
We'll just get Pete to record it podcast Pete to record it really slowly. I'll be like, I'll read one word at a time and then we can just speed it up. And everyone's like, wow, that's so impressive.
That's great. Okay, awesome. So you shouldn't always study in total silence. It's fine to have a bit of background noise in a cafe. That's all good. Okay, true or false? Sleeping after revising helps consolidate your memory.
So you're not going to have a nap in the morning after your first hour of work at 10 o'clock if you've woken up at 9.
But does it help?
I would say yes.
Well
yes.
100% so far.
Hello, everyone.
7 out of 7 so far.
Beautiful. Yeah, sleeping afterwards, it's the same as, when you take a break, if you go for a shower, you go for a walk, taking yourself away from your desk space or work area, moving your environment and not going straight on your phone are going to really help you to consolidate and kind of reflect on the information. It's the same as if you have an elongated, deep conversation with someone, if you have a DMC, a deep meaning chat, and then you go away afterwards and you just remove all the other stimuli and just reflect, you'll be able to think, oh, I should have said this in that conversation. The same thing happens when you're revising. If you take yourself away from stuff that's going to distract you or whatever initially, and just let yourself digest, the information is going to go in your head in a different way, and it's going to really consolidate it and just ground it in there a little bit.
Interesting. All right. Well, speaking of which, is it better to do, I'm going to phrase it in a different way, true or false? It's better to do 6 hours of revision in one day than 1 hour a day over 6 days. Should I say that again?
Yeah.
True or false? It's better to do 6 hours of revision in one day than 1 hour a day over 6 days.
False.
Nice.
Because, well, obviously it does depend when your exam is, because if your exam is in 5 days, you can't do that. So you might as well stay 2 hours on one of the days.
Nice.
So you do have to slightly manage it and kind of structure your time and make sure everything is well organized so that you're not leaving bits and bobs to the night before and trying to do a cramming session at 11 o'clock at night, because your 9 a.m. exam is not going to go as well if you do that. But that kind of comes into this idea of spaced repetition.
Yes.
Making sure you're revising the content, taking a pause, letting it digest, and then the next day you're approaching it and consolidating the stuff from the day before and maybe adding in a couple new things. It's like I did drama GCSE and I had a big monologue to learn for my GCSE. And what I did is I learned like 5 sentences a day.
Nice.
And every day I would say to myself the first 5 sentences and then I'd add 5 more. So I was building and consolidating on those first 5 lines, adding 5 more each day. And then the second day I'm consolidating the 10, adding 5 more. And then it just breaks it down into more manageable chunks so you feel less overwhelmed and there's less information that you're trying to aggressively shove in your brain. If I was to try and sit down and learn that entire monologue in one sitting,
Right.
it would have been a completely different kettle of fish. Same goes for 6 hours revision a day.
Yeah, I remember trying to, when we did our French speaking exam,
Yeah.
I remember trying to memorize an A4 paper of French just one day before.
Oh, wow.
It was horrendous. I've never felt so awful in my life.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just terrible, especially as I didn't know what any of the French meant.
Which probably doesn't really help. Just learning.
I would not
You're just
recommend.
learning sounds at that point.
Yeah.
If there's no meaning to it either,
exactly.
you're literally trying to memorize different sounds.
Which made it way
which
worse.
is horrific. It's horrendous. I made my French oral rhyme. My teacher looked at me.
Great.
I was like, bonjour, je m'appelle Blair, j'habite working dans le sud de l'Angleterre.
Hey.
Literally made it all rhyme. My teacher looked at me in that oral and was like, I don't know what you're doing right now, but fair enough. But it meant I was able to remember it better because it was you just heard it. It was like, do, do,
You know
do,
it
do,
now.
Do, do, do. Yeah, that's all I can remember.
Yeah,
to be fair,
but even that's impressive. I didn't know
absolutely.
any of mine.
I made it rhyme and I made it follow like a... and it meant I was able to remember it. So maybe give that a go if you're doing your French oral or your Spanish oral.
That's a great tip. We'll use that as a reel.
Absolutely. If you're seeing this on TikTok, There you go.
This leads really well into the next question.
Go on, man.
True or false? Using silly or funny acronyms help you remember facts.
You'll never guess what.
What?
I think it's true. Yay!
It is true. Well done.
Yeah, I always use acronyms and stuff. I use a lot of mnemonics. And to be honest, I put so many swear words into them because that's something that for me helps me remember it. If it's rude or funny, I am way more likely to remember it than like the black cat had 9 lives, whatever.
Yeah.
That's boring. My brain's not going to remember. But if I make it outrageous,
And
I'm
if,
going to remember that.
and if your biology teacher says something outrageous, you're going to remember that, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? All right, next question.
Go on.
True or false? Reading notes in bed is fine as long as you're revising. Is it, I want to phrase this another way. Is it best practice to revise in bed?
No. Thing is, we're all, yay. Thing is, I think a lot of people are partial to do it. To be honest, I'm guilty of it as well. There's something about being in your bed. I put all my pillows up against the back wall of my bed, pull my duvet over, I'm awful, pull my duvet over me, and I sit with my little flashcards and I'm like, yay, I'm comfortable. And, you know, it can make it feel like a more positive experience in your head and in your mindset because you're like, I'm comfortable, I'm relaxed.
Yeah.
But your revision is comfortable and relaxed. It's a less effective use of your time. If you're going to spend 10 minutes revising in bed versus 10 minutes revising at your desk, I guarantee you the amount of information you're going to be able to retrieve and recall at the end is going to be completely different levels because the headspace that you're in is completely different. And also when you then finish revising and you get into bed later, it can be harder to switch off because you've revised there in the day. So it doesn't feel like a transition from I'm working to I'm not working anymore. When you move space, it can make you feel a little bit more like you're on the go all the time. So it's important not to, but it happens. I work in bed still sometimes. You know, I work from home for Bright Teach occasionally, and sometimes I'll do it in my bed. And I can tell you that it is not as productive.
There you go.
So don't do that.
Yeah, so it says your brain associates your bed with sleep. So it's better to revise sitting up at a desk. So it's like if you don't have any other options that day, and that's the only way you can get yourself to revise, it's like a
Last resort.
last resort, exactly. Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
But you could even sit on your floor is probably better than sitting in your bed. I sit on my floor to revise sometimes. I probably look like a bit of a nut job, but especially when I'm using my flashcards to put out, one of the things I do is write like the key terms from a diagram, let's say. I'm trying to think of a GCSE diagram, but all I can think of is the Krebs cycle, which I'm pretty sure is A-level biology. But anyway, I'll have like all the definitions from the diagram on the back and the keyword on the front. And it means I can put the cards in the correct space for the diagram. And if I can't quite remember what something is, I can flip it over. But that's something I do on the floor of my room. And it, again, just can feel like a slightly alternative, less full-on way of revising. And it's a different work space or like desk area from sitting at my desk.
True or false? You must revise every subject equally.
False.
Well done.
Yeah.
100% so far.
Hey, I'm like a wizard.
So why shouldn't you revise every subject equally?
Well, some subjects you're probably going to have more of a general understanding of naturally. Whether, you know, your teacher might be better in one subject, you might like one of the subjects more, which means you maybe pay a bit more attention in lessons, which means you might have more of an understanding because you're actually clued into what's going on in the class. But so if you revise them all the same level, if you think maybe you're at a 5 in this one, a 6 in this one, a 4 in this one, a 7 in this one, and you bring them all up by 1 grade, it's great. You've got some really high grades in there. But if you spent a little bit more time on the 5 and the 4, you might be able to bring them up so that you've got fantastic grades across the board. So split it depending on where you need to prioritize your time and make the most effort to get a good understanding in the topics.
Great. Spend more time on weaker topics and weaker subjects.
Yep. And it's not as fun to revise those weaker topics and weaker subjects. So maybe if you do that in the morning, if you have a subject or a topic that you're less confident in, do that when you've first woken up, you're full of energy, and it's not in the afternoon. Because if you do those in the afternoon and you do the nice subjects first, it can make you... For me, it affects my mindset.
Yeah.
If I'm doing them right in the afternoon, let's say it's 4 o'clock and I'm trying to revise a really difficult topic, I can create quite a negative narrative in my head of, I can't understand this. I don't want to do this anymore because I've already been revising for, 5 3 hours that day. Do it in the morning and it will feel more smooth sailing. And you finish on a high because your last revision session will be something maybe you feel a bit more confident in. So you'll finish your revision and be like, oh, I'm so intelligent. And it will set you up well for the next day or next sit down.
It's really great. I even do that at work now. I do the tasks that are sort of boring and I don't want to do straight away.
Yep.
And then get onto the slightly more fun stuff in the afternoon.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Next question. True or false? You should never take a day off revision.
False.
Well done. Why is it important to take a break?
Rest is so important. It means that your brain can digest the information that you've learned. It also means you have time to have a life, because revising shouldn't be the only thing in your brain for the entirety of year 11 or year 13 or whatever. You need some time to socialize, to interact with your friends, family, recharge your batteries a bit, make yourself feel more positive, have some fun experiences, and then you will be in a better position to approach revision because you'll feel like you've had time off. So it will increase the way the information goes in your head, it will increase your mindset, and overall it will probably make you feel more on top of things and less overwhelmed.
It's really good. There's only a few questions left and you're on 100% so far, Blair. Are you going to make it through?
I'm going to make it.
All right.
I have confidence.
Well done. Okay.
Thank you.
Here we go. True or false?
Go on.
Explaining a topic to someone else can help you understand it better.
True. Haha. It is a form of active recall. Being able to explain something to someone else means that you can identify any areas of your knowledge where there's a gap. Because if you're trying to explain something and suddenly you realize you don't actually really know what you're talking about, that's a sign that you need to go and look it over a little bit. But also the person who you're explaining to might ask you a question or two that challenges your knowledge. And then you can kind of apply the set of things you know, especially if the person isn't that familiar with your subject. Personally, I subject my mum to all of those like talks about things. And she'll ask me questions which I haven't necessarily thought of, but it means that I have to take a different angle and manipulate all of my knowledge to apply it to the question she's asked me, which is the same as when you're doing a past paper or an actual exam.
Very good. Might get you on the next question.
Go on.
True or false? Using colorful notes and fancy headings will help you remember better.
Oh. See, I would say, again, subjective, colorful notes, I would say yes, but the fancy headings, no. Do you see what I mean? So color notes, if you have like dyslexia or something, can be really helpful with the color cues to trigger your memory and kind of group topics together. For example, if I do a mind map on one topic, I'll do it in one color, and a mind map on a different topic in a different color. And it kind of helps me to separate the information. But the fancy titles that some people spend 10 minutes on with the calligraphy font, absolute waste of time.
Okay. Let me ask this again.
Okay.
And then the answer's got to be true or false.
Okay.
This is... Will you get it?
I'm nervous.
This is
My
getting,
heart's going pitter patter.
this is getting tense. Okay. Colorful notes and fancy headings that don't support your understanding. Will that help?
No.
Well done.
Yay. Haha.
You almost were tripped up.
I did.
I think everything you said
You
was right.
threw me there with that question. I was
Yeah.
like, oh.
Everything you said was right. So it's like if it's color coded in specific ways that will help you understand it, that's great.
Yeah.
But if you had non-colorful notes and colorful notes, just one being more colorful doesn't necessarily help with revision.
Yeah.
Might do for ADHD.
True. I use a lot of colourful notes. And to be honest, I was one of those people that used to spend ages messing around with the different titles. But the thing that you need to think is, because I was one of those people that's like, if my notes look nice, then I'm going to spend longer looking at them because I enjoy looking at them. But actually, I was just looking at them and like reading the information. I wasn't actually interacting. So in terms of its benefit to me, it wasn't that high. And when I finished my GCSEs, I decided to set all my folders on fire in my garden. We had like a little bonfire and I burned all my notes. So all of that time that I spent on the fancy titles, they literally went up in flames. So don't do that.
Okay, cool. I think then this next one might trip you up as well.
Go on.
It's another difficult one.
I'm ready.
So this is going to be the last question.
The last question.
And will you get 100% or not? It all comes down to this. Okay, you should wait until you feel ready before trying practice papers.
Ooh. I would say false.
Yay! Well done, Blair.
100%. And the reason I would say false is because you're never going to be fully 100% ready, even when you walk into your exam on the day.
Yes.
There's still going to be things that you probably don't know, and that's just part of it. So you need to come to a point of acceptance with that.
Yeah.
And by doing the past papers, you're going to identify those areas which you do need to spend a bit more time on so that you can walk out of that exam with your head held high and think, I have smashed that, just like I smashed this quiz.
And practice helps you become ready. It would be like you studying the theory of how to play piano and not touching the keys.
Yeah.
You got to start practicing.
Absolutely.
And that's why at Bright Teach, we send out physical exam papers so you can practice all of those exam questions. It's the best way to revise.
And they look really nice as well.
You can practice straight away. Don't know how to do the answer? We go through them in the live classes that evening.
And it even has a date on the side, so you make sure you know exactly where you're supposed to be.
We've got you covered.
Absolutely. But yeah, so that was our interactive quiz version, which was actually Will's idea. So if you enjoyed it, leave a little comment. Let us know.
Let us know what you got in the comments.
Yeah. We'll be back same time next week, as per usual. Make sure you're following us if you want to see our lovely, gorgeous faces next week and hear our lovely, gorgeous voices if you're listening on Spotify.
That's right.
But until then, good luck if you've got any exams left. I think there's only 2 or 3 left now. So if you're one of the last finishers and all your mates are done, keep going. This is the final push. We believe in you.
Yeah.
And we'll see you same time next week.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.